For the People show. And just type it in there and then it'll come up. Remember the Flint airport attack yesterday? We're learning more about this Canadian guy who was the suspect. He's kind of a dual citizen. We're kind of just trying to figure out what that all means for this guy, but he's 50 years old, and he was charged in the U.S. District Court with committing a violent act at an airport, and the act is punishable for 20 years in prison. The feds have said more charges could be coming. He's Canadian-Tunisian, so we're trying to just figure out what that connection is, but he has dual citizenship here. He stabbed the officer in the neck, and Allah Akbar. So this was ISIS-inspired for sure. It was a terrorist attack. They treated it like it is what it was. And luckily, the officer, by the way, when he was getting stabbed in the neck, he still was able to apprehend this gentleman. Forget about the blood, forget about the pain. He still was determined to get this guy in cuffs and not allow him to be able to do this to anybody else. So the officer apparently is going to make a full recovery. But, man, these guys got some tough jobs. And you know what? Who would have who would have thunk it? Flint, Michigan. So this can happen really anywhere in our country. And ISIS has ramped up, folks, the rhetoric online and recruiting, okay? Inspire is a magazine that they put out online, basically ratcheting it up, getting these loose cannons across the country that hate Western values, hate Americans, hate values and virtues and all this other stuff. Western culture, basically, to do this type of attack. You don't need to be sophisticated. You can use just about anything to hurt somebody, to maim somebody. So don't be surprised over the summer if you don't see more of this and lone wolf attacks, but ISIS-inspired. Allah Akbar, God is great, and that they're promised the 77 virgins, which is just repulsing to think that a loving God, just God's going to, go ahead and kill a bunch of people, and then we're going to reward you. Loving and just God's going to do. That's how he works. Not. But, there's people that feed into it. They drink the Kool-Aid. Look what happened. We talk about Jim Jones occasionally, but it's sad that people can be brainwashed. And when it's not, what do they say, simple minds, easily entertained. That could be the very, very, very fact here. All right, this is a sad story, a weird story at that. A French fitness model, very, very popular. Her name is Rebecca Berger, and she's had quite a following on Instagram. It may not seem like a whole lot to you, but that's not too shabby. 156,000 followers on Instagram, and she was doing a modeling shoot, and the BBC reported this. But she was doing this modeling deal with whipped cream, and it was a really freak accident when the dispenser, according to her family, malfunctioned and hit her in the chest and killed her. She was 33 years old. And she received medical attention, but ultimately died of cardiac arrest. Her family wanted her fans to not buy the dispenser from the French manufacturer, claiming there were thousands of faulty devices still being sold. Berger was very popular on social media, where she posts photos of her toned body and bikinis, and she'd share tips on food and fitness, and she also competed in fitness and beauty competitions all over the world. Rebecca Berger, rest in peace. Very sad. Fitness model dies a whipped cream machine. Going crazy. It hit her in the chest. Strange things happen, folks. Strange things. This is kind of a bad thing, but hopefully we get it together. And I have some thoughts about this. You may have heard that we were trying to shoot down a ballistic missile. Well, we were testing to shoot down a ballistic missile, and it failed. Amid all the threats of North Korea, we're trying to kind of ready ourselves here in the motherland, make sure that we have the capacity to be able to do this right. But it failed last night, according to a statement from the U.S. Missile Defense Agency. A medium-range ballistic missile was launched from a test range in Hawaii at 7:20 p.m. local time, but the interceptor missile fired at sea from the U.S. John Paul Jones, a guided missile destroyer, missed the target. A U.S. missile interceptor launched during a flight test from Vandenberg Air Force Base in May. There was that one that actually worked. That was successful. That actually was high altitude, went above the earth, and it came down, and that had precision timing. So I'm thinking, why don't they use the guidance system that they used for the one in May that actually, they said it was like shooting down a bullet at, over 10,000 miles. It was 16,000 miles an hour. It was quick, and they were able to go to high altitude above the earth, come back down, shoot that missile out of the air. So hopefully they get this right the second time. But you know what? It's a reminder of 8 years under Barack Hussein Obama that didn't really care about the military. Why do you think we didn't have any victories anywhere in theater? The generals asked, they pleaded, but Obama wasn't giving them anything. It was just a show. It was a sham, is what it was. The pacifist attitude, and it has downgraded our military because we could have been working on these things, but no. What did Obama have NASA do, because NASA didn't have enough to do over there because they weren't building space shuttles anymore? To go around and embrace Muslims and encourage the Muslim brothers around the country, that they were appreciated, that we love them. NASA was doing that. As if we didn't have anybody working for NASA that were Muslims, that they needed a pat on the back. What about the Christians that have gotten killed all over the country? A little pat on the back to assure them that they're not going to be genocide, which they have been in the Middle East. How about comforting them? Or in Aleppo, where you've got millions of people that have died in that civil war. How about helping that out? How about in Iraq? How about in Syria? How about in Korea? No, you've left us weak, and now we have to build ourselves strong. Leave it to the Republicans under the leadership. That's just it, under Donald Trump. It's not going to be an easy road, folks, but he is starting to give, the Pentagon's running the show. He's given Mad Dog the authority, and so much more victories are being done. He says, we want to win. We're not winning in Afghanistan. Another plan, big plan. This is crazy. A California Navy veteran and his wife expressed disbelief at the city of Galt, telling them to remove a flagpole on their property or face a fine. There's more of this. People wanting just to fly a flag. A Navy veteran, very proud to serve his country, asking, but this neighborhood watch groups, these neighborhood groups being disturbed because somebody's flying an American flag. My takeaway from this is, if you don't like the American flag, you don't want it flown in your neighborhood, get out, move out, get out of the country. Why live here if you don't like the flag? That flag means something to that Navy vet. And a lot of Americans, it means something. It's pretty sacred, as a matter of fact. So this couple, though, that I'm talking about, was informed that the second of their two flagpoles, one is just a really short one in the backyard, violated neighborhood code, which allows a maximum of one flagpole per property. Ron Rada and his wife, Sherry, told Fox and Friends that they were furious that someone in the neighborhood with nothing to do reported the violation to city council. Well, there's always somebody in their neighborhood that has more time on their hands to meddle in other people's business. And the reason being is people do that. Psychology 101, it's because they're not happy with themselves, so they have to make everybody else miserable, and it's their job. It's their job to enforce it for everybody else. Forget about the sacrifice. Forget about what that means. And if the guy's proud, let him fly 50 flags in the backyard or in the front yard. Let it be Flag Day every day. But on D-Day, they said no flags. Take the flags down. This is increasing all across the country. People are offended by the flag. And I say again, move to Afghanistan. Fly their flag. Go over there. Enjoy their summers. Oh, my dear God. Do you like Chinese food? I love Chinese food. Now, this is Thursday. We should have done this on Wacky Wednesday. China, you may have heard that some Chinese like dog meat. So, despite an international outcry, the Yulin Dog Meat and Lechai Festival, it's Lechai or Lechai Festival in China will proceed as planned. The festival is celebrating the Chinese provenance of rich history of preparing and eating canines. And despite dogs being known as companions or animals for man's best friend in the Western world, or much of it, it's not a popular event for animal rights activists, as you can imagine. So meanwhile, countries where man's best friend is valued as more than an entree have campaigned in the United Nations and to the Chinese state government to ban the festival and the practice. Earlier this year, Chinese authorities reportedly told a number of American diplomats that they banned the festival, but no one told the festival vendors and attendees. So it went on as planned. The Yellen city government confirmed that it had neither issued nor agreed to a ban on the sale of dog meat. According to vendors, the city is limiting them to 2 dogs on display at their stalls at one time. Roof. Dog meat. That was the thing in New York City, though, back in the 80s. I don't know how things are right now, but sometimes you get some of the the best Chinese right there on street vendors in New York City, man. It's good stuff, but we'd say, oh, man, how's that Chinese? And, we'd joke, it was dog meat, but there's a history. There's a lot of Chinese that actually will eat the dogs. I don't think anything of it. But they don't raise them as pets. They just, they'd raise them like a pig, or a chicken or something like that. They don't get too attached to it and to eat them. But, gosh, I'm a dog lover. I just could not imagine doing that. Even if I was hungry, you can be vegan. There's enough stuff out there. If you're a survivalist like myself, you kind of know what to eat. God, dog meat, really? Here's a very disturbing report, and I even read the Washington Post because occasionally they get some things right. This has nothing to do with politics and slamming Donald Trump, but this has to do with cigarette smoking. And they say that among the nation's less educated people with a high school equivalency diploma, the smoking rate remains more than 40%. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, says today Royal residents are diagnosed with lung cancer at rates 18 to 20% above the city dwellers. By nearly every statistical measure, researchers say America's lower class now smokes more and dies more from cigarettes than any other American. And this is a widening gap between the classes that carries huge health implications and is already reshaping the country's battle over tobacco control. Cigarette companies are now focusing their marketing on lower social economic communities to retain their customer base. Researchers say nonprofits and advocacy groups are retooling their programs for the complex and more difficult work of researching and treating marginalized groups. People are still smoking, and yes, to the poor, for whatever reason, stress, lack of education, depression, it could be all of those things and more, but who knows? Just thought it was an interesting stat, and it really hits home for me because I lost my dad at 50 years old back in 1995. He had a massive heart attack. And it's scary. It happened right in front of me.